about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. So one thing that is making me fall out of my chair in what the hell are they thinking is this suggestion that Ghislaine or Ghislaine Maxwell, I hear it's pronounced Ghislaine or Ghislaine. Ghislaine, whatever you want to call her, I don't care. I have a different word for her. The one who was convicted of sex trafficking and multiple other issues as it pertained to the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking and assault and rape of minors. Just horrific history with that. People are discussing that maybe she should get a pardon. Now, from what I'm hearing, the President Donald Trump doesn't want to pardon her. But why are people asking for this? Well, they are suggesting that she might get a pardon if she talks. Now, okay, that bothers me, because there are ways to make you talk. And I'm not saying don't torture, waterboard, but if we suggest that people staying quiet just have to hold out for a deal, we're never going to get anybody to talk. Now, I understand most people do, or in law enforcement or in the judicial system, there are deals. That's why we have plea deals. But this woman, and I'm being very kind calling her a woman, I can't believe she represents my gender. It's disgusting what she's done. Just to refresh, she was convicted of sex trafficking and conspiracy to commit sex trafficking of sexual abuse with minor girls. She was sentenced to 20 years in prison in 2022. This included the grooming, the transportation, recruiting, I think facilitating payments. She was accused of facilitating payments to the victims. I don't understand why she didn't recognize why this was such a horrific, horrible thing. And so for her to testify, people are suggesting, well, we got to give her something good. No, it is your duty to get your ass behind the microphone and get and be deposed and tell us what we need to know. What I think we should do. So she was convicted for 20 years, and I'm no attorney, so I'm sure legal experts like Dr. Daliah, you don't know what you're talking about. But what I think we should do is we have two sentences. One is your ass is in jail for 40 years. Or B, 20 years if you talk. If you're going to talk and you're going to be honest about what you're saying and not giving us BS, you can qualify for the shorter sentence of 20 years. But don't be taking that 20 years now and saying, oh, well, we're going to cut it. I think she just got moved to now from a low security to now a minimum security. I think she gets to be with, I don't know, some celebrities and who knows. And honestly, what this woman did was disgusting. She was convicted. Okay, you're innocent until proven guilty. This woman was proven guilty. But people want to know who took advantage of these girls. And people want to know the names. Now, I think it would be a bad move for Trump to pardon her. From what I'm hearing, he doesn't want to pardon her. But this suggestion the media keeps perpetuating it. I don't know why. My guess is just to try to make Trump look bad. But if he at all is thinking about this, my advice is, oh, hell no. Now, what other things can you do to make her talk? Well, I believe that there are, one is, don't have her in such a cush prison. I don't understand why she got such a nice prison. You see her running and exercising and all that. As far as I'm concerned, if you are a bad criminal and you did bad things to multiple victims, All right. You shouldn't be getting tea. You shouldn't be getting, 5-star meals or whatever the hell they're doing over there. All right. It's got to be unfun, not fun. And I'm sure she wants to get out. That's why she wants to be pardoned. And her legal team is trying to get a shorter sentence. But we need to figure out ways to, one, get them to talk before they get sentenced as part of a deal. Two, if you're going to be, right, not able to, I guess, get the goodies or the commissary or whatever the stuff, if you don't cooperate. Now, I know people say, well, you can't do that. It's America. People have a right to take the fifth. You take the fifth to not incriminate yourself. But if you're already convicted, there's no double jeopardy. Okay, you're already convicted. If you're already convicted of that crime, all right, you should be able to talk without there being more repercussions. Now, of course, people feel, well, somebody's going to kill me. All right, there's some high profile people that may but you see, it shouldn't have gotten to this level where now everybody's saying, well, she's going to testify to Congress. We're going to get to see what she says. It should have never gotten that far. Jeffrey Epstein is dead. His hyoid bone was fractured when they found him. That could be a sign of strangulation, but rarely it can also break in a hanging. Right now, the FBI is saying Jeffrey Epstein was killed by suicide, although, boy, are the circumstances surrounding it very odd. But you could get her to talk by a variety of ways without at all being unethical or criminal. You could add something, in terms of her work duties. You can incentivize her, where, you'll get to not have to do work duties, or you'll get, I don't know, a waterbed. I don't know. But the idea of getting her out of jail early, no. To me, you get out of jail early if you've redeemed yourself, if you show that you have rehabilitated and you are going to help society. I don't need her help. I don't think there's anything she could say or suggest to make me think that she is worthy of being in society with any of us. But they need to do a better job of getting her to talk without promising her, you're going to be free and clear for what you did. 1-877-DOC-Daliah.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? Because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So I think many of us are sick of the ridiculous costs of drugs. And President Donald Trump earlier this year has promised and has done executive orders to mandate the pharmaceutical companies don't charge us more than what they are charging other countries. And the question people have had is, what's the status of that? What's going on with that? I think it's absolutely ridiculous that in America, these GLP-1 agonists that diabetics are using, or people that are using it for weight loss, are paying $1,000 to $1,500 a month. The pharmaceutical companies, some of them say, well, the cash price will be $500 if you want to pay $500. Yet, are they really charging that in other countries? How come our antibiotics or cancer medications, how come these things are more expensive in America? Well, we talked about why prices are expensive. What these companies do is they take losses selling their drugs to some of these other countries in order to get, I guess, exposure, get marketing, show they're helping fight diseases, etc. But they make it on the back end with countries like America who will pay top dollar for it. And then you and I wait for a generic brand to come so that we could finally pay a cheaper price. When a company doesn't have any other competition, because they hold the patent of the drug, and that's understandable. They do deserve to have a patent. I mean, if they spent all the money doing the R&D, they do have a right to make a profit. But we are at the point now where most insurance companies, shunt you to the generic drugs, and we just wait for a generic to come out and sometimes not even use some of the medications that we really think could help. I was so grateful when Crestor finally became generic. Rosuvastatin, I thought, was phenomenal in terms of statins, had much more potency than the other statins, but patients couldn't afford it. Now, luckily, AstraZeneca gave us samples to help patients and help minimize some of their cost. And so pharmaceutical companies will work with doctors and will work with patients, but it doesn't have to be this hard. It really doesn't. So Trump has sent letters to 17 major pharmaceutical company CEOs yesterday with a list of demands, including that manufacturers extend the so-called most favored nation pricing, which is the lowest price paid for a drug in a peer country, to all drugs provided to Medicaid enrollees. See, we really need Medicaid reform. And Medicaid is running out of money. And one of the things we could do, one, is ensure that there are people not using it who are able-bodied, not having dependents, not sick. I think work requirements for young, strapping men who could hold a job, or go back to school or volunteer, I think is totally within reason and common sense. If you're ill, you get on Medicaid or Medicare. Medicare helps provide support. But for those individuals that don't have any kids, they could work, honestly. But the most favored nation pricing, they want these drugs provided to Medicaid enrollees. He also wants that the companies guarantee that Medicaid, Medicare, and commercial market insurers pay also the lower prices for all new drugs. So going to their website, they are calling on the manufacturers to provide these prices to every single Medicaid patient and to stipulate they will not offer other developed nations better prices for new drugs than prices offered to the United States. So if they are helping some countries in Africa, that's fine. But if they're charging the UK less, if they're charging France less, Switzerland less, Canada less, oh, hell no. And I agree with him on that. There is no reason why Americans should pay more. He also, this is part of the reducing drug prices for American and taxpayers executive order, providing manufacturers with an avenue to cut out middlemen, thank the Lord, and sell medicines directly to patients, provided they do so at a price no higher than the best price available in developed nations. This best price available, or this most favored nation price, is a huge, it's a huge move in pharmaceuticals. I don't understand why other administrations didn't think of this. I don't understand why this wasn't done, through the FDA or through HHS before. I know we needed a president behind it, but this makes sense. And I'm surprised it took this long. It's 2025, for crying out loud. They say also using trade policy to support manufacturers and raising prices internationally, provided that increased revenues abroad are reinvested directly into lowering prices for American patients and taxpayers. So they want to ensure that the Americans are not getting screwed, which I think most Americans agree with. I understand there's a lot of divide between Democrats and Republicans, but for those people who are not, on the fringe, I think the average person agrees that Americans shouldn't just pay more just because they are who they are. There's a lot of ways we contribute to other countries. A pharmaceutical company making more profit off of us is not charitable. If a pharmaceutical company says, but look, I need you to help us pay so we can make up for losses in developing countries, well, then be honest about it. And also ask France and Germany and Canada to do the same. Don't just go, well, we're going to stick it to the Americans. And to me, it's a common sense. So letters were sent to AbbVie, Amgen, AstraZeneca, Boehringer Ingelheim, Bristol Myers Squibb, Eli Lilly, EMD Serrano, Genentech, Gilead, GSK, GlaxoSmithKline, Johnson & Johnson, Merck, Novartis, Novo Nordisk, Pfizer, Regeneron, and Sanofi. Most of the drugs you guys have ever had come from these pharmaceutical companies. And according to recent data, the prices Americans pay for brand name drugs are more than 3 times the price for other Organization for Economic Cooperation development nations pay, even after accounting for discounts manufacturers provide in the U.S. The United States has less than 5% of the world's population, but 75% of global pharmaceutical profits come from American taxpayers. That's ridiculous. May 12th, President Trump signed the executive order delivering most favored nation prescription drug pricing to American patients, directing the administration to take these actions. So, I'm for it. As a physician, I think it's high time. Now, he sent the letter. He's giving them 60 days to get their asses in shape. Will they do it? Can they do it? Well, stock prices might fall, but they need to play the long game. And if they want Americans to buy their drugs, if they want to have contracts through Medicaid, through Medicare, they're going to have to step up. And so how would a pharmaceutical company do this? Well, one, they need to be transparent. All right. Although I'm sure we can all find out. What are you charging Canada? What are you charging Mexico? What are you charging Costa Rica? These are developed, vibrant countries. What are you charging them? Will we pay the same? That's it. That's all you could charge us. That's all we're paying. And the companies that realize that, and maybe they need to look back at their pricing. Maybe they're trying, the idea of we're going to charge one country different than another is complete BS. You have a price for a drug, that's the price. But we spoke about that study that looked at these GLP-1 agonists, how much it costs for them to be manufactured. $5.40 a month for your shot of Ozempic, for your month prescription of Ozempic. $5.40. You're paying $1,000. Or the insurance company is paying. Or those of us not on it, I know I could use some, but I'm not. Those of us not on it have now higher insurance premiums because insurance has to pay the $1,000 price. It's BS. Come on. This is ridiculous. So if they're charging Canada $500, now that's our list price. It's simple. And if they feel like, but we're going to go broke, we needed America to make our profits. Well, then raise everybody. If you raise all these other countries by $50, $60, you could cover what America isn't paying. Listen, I am not anti-pharmaceutical company. We need our pharmaceutical companies. Those listed have made some fantastic drugs. When Mpox came out, was it not? No, it was Bavarian Nordic. I mean, they came out with the vaccine. These are, or they manufacture the smallpox vaccine, which we could use. We need pharmaceutical companies, and they deserve to make some profit. Otherwise, they won't stay in business. But, we're done with being screwed as Americans. 1-877 Doc Daliah. Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our fantasy football pocket guide for beginners found on Amazon or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot's Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot's Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. So I was at Adventureland in Altoona, Iowa, a few weeks ago with my nephews and my son. And one of the rides we rode was this 360 big pendulum ride. I think I posted a video on my Facebook where you're in a circle. You're kind of braced with a kind of a pelvic seat belt, and then you have the over the shoulder padded brace, and it looks like a wheel, and it throws you up in the air like a pendulum, and it goes higher and higher, and it's scary because you feel like you're upside down. And I don't know how I trusted it, but I did. I figured the park was following the rules, and they did. It was a good day at the park. Unfortunately, it was a bad day in Saudi Arabia. And I don't know if you have seen this ride, snap midair. And it looks like the pendulum, was it a fulcrum? I forget what it's called. The one holding the wheel, the big metal tube holding the wheel, just snaps in half. You see people thrown from the ride and crash to the ground. Now, thank God, I don't think anybody died, but 23 people have been injured, 3 of them critically. This happened in Saudi Arabia on the 360 big pendulum ride. It's a circular carousel that pendulates, it's a pendulum. And this happened at the Al Hada Park, area of Taif in the city of Jeddah. According to CNN and state-controlled outlet Arab News, Prince Saudi bin Nahir bin Saudi bin Abdulaziz, the region's governor, ordered the immediate closure of the resort while an investigation into the collapse takes place. When you see the video, it's frightening. Now, most of the individuals land straight on the ground, falling, 30 feet. But you saw some individuals fly off. This sadly was very eerie, resembling what happened with Tyre Sampson, a 14-year-old who was on the Orlando Freefall ride at Icon Park in Florida. He was in a seat, but the harness did not look fully engaged. He was 6 feet 5 inches tall, weighed 340 pounds, according to his father. And the individuals who were supposed to make sure he was in there tight and good to go didn't do their job. And so when that ride was in free fall, he flew off the ride. And I think he was maybe 100, 200 feet in the air at the time. It was tragic. He died. Now, when I did the rides, it's interesting. Now they have these light sensors where it helps. Again, they have to make this for dummies because in case somebody working it is flirting with somebody. And there was a suggestion during the Icon Park disaster with Tyre Sampson, may he rest in peace, that one of the people in charge was just talking to the girls and where there was some sort of somebody ignored checking. But when I did that ride, that 360 carousel, the prep lasted at least 5 minutes. You're sitting there and they're going back and forth, checking every belt, making sure the sensors were right. And I was actually kind of worried because I'm like, boy, they're taking a long time to get this ride started. What are they worried about? But they probably wanted to, cross all their T's, dot their I's, whatever, to make sure that nobody got hurt. And I'm very grateful because you're really in a very precarious position when you are being thrown or propelled up in the air like that. And I don't know why people do amusement park rides. I do them just because, my nephews or my sons want to go. Do I, on my own, say I want to just go on a roller coaster? No. If it wasn't for my wanting to be with my kids, because I just don't want them alone. Also, I feel like I could hold and grab them, which I know I can't. But as a mommy, I don't want them up there alone. They're grown men, but still. If you are not of ideal height and weight, you could be at risk. Now, I can't tell in the Saudi Arabia accident how big the person was, but it looks like it was a child that was flown. And amusement parks are supposed to limit passenger height and weight or have certain height and weight specifications. A lot of patrons don't know their weight. They don't want to weigh themselves. And I had talked about this years ago, back in 2022, that you better check. I actually have, I'll post this if I can again on my Twitter or Facebook for y'all. But the height and weight requirements of many rides weren't available. They weren't there. Disneyland had height requirements. I don't know if since then they've added weight. Las Vegas's Big Apple roller coaster at the New York did have height requirements. At the time, there weren't weight limits, but I'm not sure if that's been changed. We have the Strat, which is a thrill ride. The Sky Jump had a weight limit of 265 pounds, but I don't know if the Strats ride had weight limits. So certain zip lines may have weight limits, height limits. And so your job as a consumer, as a person at the park, is to not assume that the ride is up to speed. We want to, but when you see what happened in Saudi Arabia, you're like, something gave. And that's what I think we keep forgetting. Mechanics, just like with airplanes. Now, when I took some flying lessons, your pre-check was long. The list was long. It was probably a 20, 25-minute pre-check that we had to do before we actually started flying. Because you want to make sure whatever you could control is working and everything is in working order. But as you've seen, we've still had issues up in air. Look at that Titan sub. This guy had money. I mean, he had mechanics and safety people. Still, the Titan sub killed 5 people when it just completely imploded in the water and got crushed by the weight of the water. One very small, weak link causes a cascade of issues. And so you could check and say, well, this bolt is in, this looks good, this metal looks good. How do you know the integrity of any of the steel beams are not 100%? And this accident shouldn't have happened. But I'm sure we're going to be hearing more information as the days progress that it was a beam issue or whatever that big, I think it's a hollow cylinder holding that wheel, which kind of looks like a wagon wheel. And, was that up to par? What stressors affected that? You could be checking every bolt, but this was something that snapped in half like a fractured radius. And if you aren't looking for that, then you're not preventing it. I know these accidents are rare, but I have to assume everybody is half-assed until proven otherwise. And you have to put your trust. You have to put your trust in airline mechanics. You have to put your trust in the pilot. You have to put your trust in the surgeon. There's only so much you could do. But these kids and people put their trust into this amusement park, and some of them almost died. Many of them almost died. And I think the one thing that we always are just shocked about is how quickly tragedy happens. You think you did the right thing. You think you made all the right moves. You had your seatbelt on, etc. And then something so small was enough for there to be catastrophe. And we just need to be aware of those quote-unquote small, rare things. It's interesting. In medicine, they kept telling us, look for the horses and not the zebras. If you keep it's because medical students will learn, cutaneous porphyria, and then diagnose everybody with that when it could be a simple, herpes outbreak or something else. So I get that. But you got to still think of the zebras, and you got to still make sure the zebras aren't going to happen. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
All right, we are back on Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOCDALI. Well, one of the poorest orators, or the worst performing, worstest. I'm one of them. Okay, but she comes. I'm a close second behind. But one of the worst orators or worst performing interviewees in politics is Kamala Harris, and Stephen Colbert has her on his show again. Another reason why his ratings are tanking and the show is getting canceled. And really, Kamala Harris, that's your entertainment for the evening? But he interviews the former vice president. And in that interview, she says she would not run for public office, alluding to the gubernatorial run in California I think she's trying to test the waters for presidential runs still. But she said she would not run for public office because the system is quote unquote broken. And she views the capitulation by those tasked with guarding democracy during Donald Trump's second administration. So she loses the election. She says the system's broken. She acts like people surrendered to Donald Trump. Yet she criticized Donald Trump for questioning the chaos with mail-in ballots during the 2020 election. So, one, that's a little hypocritical. But she says the system is broken. Now, is she talking about the system under Biden that Trump is trying to correct? Or is she talking about the current system? Well, she's alluding to the current system. And that concerns me as somebody who wants to run for office, her running for office. If you're saying the system is broken, and again, you can't take what she says with any validity because she speaks in word salads all the time. But what I'm inferring from that is she believes a Democratic election where Trump gets reelected, is broken. A checks and balances between Congress, the legislative branch, the judicial branch, the executive branch is broken. The country wanting to secure the border, put America first, is broken. I need her to specify what she thinks is broken, because she might be in the wrong country then. She says, I've always believed as fragile as our democracy is, our systems would be strong enough to defend our most fundamental principles. And I think right now they're not as strong as they need to be. What the hell? What? She says, for now, I don't want to go back into the system. I want to travel the country. I want to listen to people. I want to talk with people. And I don't want it to be transactional where I'm asking for their vote. Okay, well, to me, that means she wants to run again. If the system is broken, is she also alluding to the fact that nobody wants her? She failed miserably in the Democratic primary. She's probably told no one is going to want to vote for her for a California run. And if she does fail at running for governor in California, then that's going to be an end to her career. You know, and people always say, look, if you fail at an election, does that mean you're done? If you fail at one election, if there's one election you lose, no, you're not done. Look at Richard Nixon. I believe Abraham Lincoln had lost some of his elections, I think, for Congress. Donald Trump lost 2020, although there's a lot of debate on how that happened with the mail-in ballots. But you can make a comeback. If you lose 2 elections, that's a little difficult. I don't know of many, shall we say, politicians that have come back. And I look at Kamala Harris as already losing 2. She might have, I don't know if she ran for governor in the past or anything, but the Democratic primary was a big testing of the waters. And she was one of the first ones out. She was so unpopular. So already, to me, that's 1. Then losing to Trump in 2024. You know, that's 2. So I think if she did run for California governor and lost, that would be there. I don't think there's any way to come back. People don't like her. And also voter psychology. Now, when somebody says, oh, this person's back again. Well, you know, Andrew Cuomo, a lot of people are hoping and he's not popular at all. He's a piece of work himself. But people don't want Zohran Mamdani to win. But if he's running against Curtis Sliwa and Eric Adams, that vote's going to be split. And sadly, there's going to be a socialist/communist running New York City who also doesn't believe Israel's a country. He says Israel's an idea. This guy's out of his mind, this Zohran guy. So she does have a possible path if the person she's running against is an absolute crazy person. But for now, no. But my issue is Democrats have to stop complaining about and criticizing something that's constitutional or democratic. And even Democratic strategists are telling Democrats, look, you might want to rethink this whole man-woman thing. Somebody might want to identify as somebody. But you have biological males, biological females, and then you do have some individuals that are XXY or Turner syndrome or whatever. But we have biological males, biological females. And if you keep pushing that biological males be treated the same as a biological female and subject females to lack of privacy and forcing them to compete with them in sports, you're not going to win another election. And you could believe and be passionate about whatever you want, but that can't be your whole platform. And so if people are saying, well, the Supreme Court system is broken because the Republicans have the majority of justices. I think the Supreme Court has issues because you shouldn't have right or left justices. I think it's absolutely flippin' ridiculous that we have judges where we could predict that they're just going to side with the Democrats or judges that are going to side with the Republicans. I think that's ridiculous. I think a judge is supposed to go there neutral. Look at the Constitution and say, hey, but we're seeing biases, and that bothers me with the Supreme Court. But the Constitution says that the president gets to appoint. They have a life appointment unless they're ill or can't perform their duties. And if the system doesn't like that, Congress, and there could be amendments made to the Constitution if there has to be. But the idea of, well, we're going to pack the court so we could get some Democrats on there. If you want to win Supreme Court rulings, then follow the Constitution. It's not that hard. And if these justices, and they're doing it, are showing the justifications for why it's constitutional for this to happen or unconstitutional for that to happen. You know, but if it's just, well, I don't like Trump and he's ruining the country, no, that's not going to work. That's not going to fly. Is our system broken? Is Kamala Harris correct? Not a lot of truth has come out of her mouth, but is the system broken? It's broken if we do an election that has never been tried and there's lots of room for error, and we don't tighten up, you know, how we're handling mail-in ballots appropriately. I think the voting system is broken if we're allowing people who are non-Americans to vote. That's a problem. And when I voted, there was no privacy. There weren't these little booths. Somebody could easily look at my screen. But if it's broken because the Americans spoke and they elected Trump, then what type of system do you want to live in? 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away. Hi, guys. Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.